Hi guys, welcome to another How Schmidt Draws video tutorial. Today I would like to talk about the perspective of the eyes. A friend of mine, Nasty Draws, approached me. She said that she had trouble with drawing the eyes because they often looked painted on, flat, sort of not working in the perspective. And I find this can quickly happen with a more abstract style. Like if you're going for realism, it's easier to keep to certain perspectives of the eyes. But then again, the same rules apply for more abstract styles. And let me show you how I do it. I begin with the construction of the face. So to position the eyes properly, you need to have a good construction of the face. I drew my face here and then I painted its construction on top, sort of the grid in which the eyes are set. I painted the eyeballs pretty large, and you can sort of vary the size of the eyeballs. I mean, that depends a bit on your style, but I sort of chose a pretty big style for more stylized eyes. What I also did was to add a little drawing of a square, like in perspective, viewed from the top, and drew a circle inside, because that's like the basis of why the eye is drawn in a certain way from the top. Like the top of the eyelid has like the short side and the long side of the eye, making a rather straight shape, and the bottom one curving far more than the top. And viewed from below, it's the exact opposite. So I started with very narrow eyes for my first set of eyes. To draw them, you can use these eyeballs you painted on sort of just as a guide, because they're like, okay, these are my areas of the eyes, like divided in four, and they sort of tell you where you are on the shape of the eye from one eye, and then you can adapt it to the other eye, like how high does the eyelid have to be. And I always find as soon as you have guidelines in there, you sort of, yes, it just makes it so much easier. You see how the shape is supposed to be. So here I went for narrow eyes. And next, I wanted to have these eyes even more slanted and sort of tipping upwards, because even if, and always when you have them not very straight, but also even tipping upwards, in perspective, that it gets even more confusing. But with the guidelines, you can always say, aha, okay, it tips up to a certain point on the one side, so it has to be mirrored on the other side at the exact same position, according position, if you get what I mean. And the shapes make themselves in a way. Obviously, it's only a help, and after having these guidelines on top and then removing them, you still can keep tweaking the shape. And I usually tweak a lot with eyes, sort of to have a pleasing result. But it's so much easier that way. Here you see me trying a couple of versions of the slanted eyes, because I think they're a bit trickier, and I seldomly draw slanted eyes. I don't know why, it's just not my typical style, but yeah. So next I tried for some huge angular eyes. Sort of, you draw the same angles, like, and you could, if you drew a line between them in perspective, you could sort of add up and join them. And yes, and you don't have to leave them so angular, sort of just as a reference for the shape. You start off with them being all sharp edges, and then you can sort of soften them and make them a bit more rounded. But sort of, if that's the shape of eyes you want, that way you can go for it. As for the pupils within these eyes, I find that terribly difficult with these huge anime shaped eyes, and I must admit I'm not an expert, because I just sort of gotten used to sort of a bit more realistic pupils and not these huge elongated ones. But in a way, it's the same thing. You sort of have to position them within the grid. And yeah. So next, I went for a bit more cute style. Again, using the perspective underneath. But then quickly removing it and sort of refining the eyes afterwards. For all these eyes, I had sort of sketched underneath already a version so that I wouldn't be completely lost when doing this tutorial. And sometimes some of these eyes turned out better than the ones I actually did for the tutorial. But, so yes, what I want to say with that is that it's always a bit tricky. So here we've got these huge, the last ones are the huge, cartoony eyes in a way, which I was trying to do without the perspective grid and having more trouble without it. But I often don't use the perspective grid. I mean, it's just sometimes something you sort of, you drop in your eyes and then you tweak with them. But when it doesn't work the way you want to, then you can say, okay, then come on, let's do the construction. Let's construct the face and see where they go. So I don't always do the construction of the face, but when I don't, when it doesn't work, it always helps to think of this mask in the face and where the eyeballs are sat sort of. It's a huge help. So yeah, I think that's about it. Use the construction as guide to guide you with whatever shape of eyes you would like to achieve. Depending on your eye size, you can vary this eyeball I scribbled on from the beginning. Yeah, and maybe try some different styles with this with the eyeballs painted underneath. I'm sure you'll get cool results. So, thanks for listening. See you next time. Bye bye.